back, everyone, here to show us how to keep our paws warm and cozy with the most adorable or pawsome pair of DIY gloves, as Orly would say, are Orly and Gabby. Hello, ladies.
Hi. We're doing a DIY together.
This is awesome, and this is
so
really
fun.
awesome for Gabby.
This
She's
is major.
looking for hobbies. This could
Looking
be
for
one.
hobbies. And I hear that you grew up like knitting with your sister.
Crocheting, yes.
That's amazing. So I have no idea how to knit. Do you have like a million things that you've made?
Nope. I never finished the blanket. Me and my sister were making a blanket and we never finished it.
Okay, well I think we're gonna actually finish something today because they're really, really simple to make. They're so easy.
I know, I have so many friends who knit, same story. They've started a million scarves and a million hats, and they're only half done.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we're going to finish this one for
You've
sure.
been accomplishing some things. Yeah, this is super simple. So we're gonna get started. I'll show you how to make them, but they're very easy.
So what do we need besides our gloves?
So besides your gloves, you need a fabric that you can actually make sort of the little paw print out of. So you just kind of want something that's a little fuzzy feeling. We're gonna need fabric scissors and paper scissors.
Okay.
And then a piece of cardstock, because this is what we'll use as creating our pattern.
Okay, so can you use like any type of gloves?
Actually, you know what, actually that's a really good question. You want a pair of gloves that makes sense that it would be like an animal paw print. So something kind of fuzzy and cozy and zhuzhy. You just don't want anything really
Like
sleek.
leather.
Yes.
You could still use a mitten though, huh?
You can totally use, like
Okay.
these right here are mittens.
right.
You can see on the top there. So mittens are absolutely fine. You just want something that's got a cozy quality.
Can't you like a bougie cat?
Right.
Yeah, you could.
actually, yeah.
Actually, a leather glove for like a bougie cat would be awesome.
a diva.
That's true.
Fingernails,
I love
yeah.
that. All right, so let's get started. What do we
Okay,
do?
so Gabby, would you put your hand on the piece of
Yes.
paper? When you're doing this, what you want to do is just basically give yourself a marking for how wide your hand is. You can pull your hand away now.
Okay.
Because now I know that when I actually create my little paw, I don't want to go any wider than this.
Like
and
the
I don't
base, the foundation.
You want basically like, I don't know, maybe a ½ inch in. So that when your hand is filling up the glove, it's not going around the edges and it's not so tiny in the center that it looks weird.
Okay.
There's a couple different shapes. The one that I sort of liked is starting off in the center, and I'm gonna freehand it, but this is absolutely something that you could Google, like, you know, paw print clip art and print it as a little stencil.
Okay.
So basically you would do something like this.
Cute.
So you just kind of freehand it, and you can see that I created, so I'll turn that around. So that would be the base part.
Right.
Lift it up a little bit.
The
That
palm.
would be, exactly. And so you can see right here, I made a couple different sizes. The other version is the one that's angled this way. And it basically would be like this on our hand.
Okay.
So it's shaped slightly different. Pick whichever one you want, cut them out of cardstock, and now we're gonna use this as our pattern. So what you wanna do is take the fabric that you're gonna use and just hold it. You really don't even need to pin this or glue this on here in any way. If you just hold it in place and kind of work your scissors around, this doesn't have to be really, really precise or perfect. So when it comes time to turn, grab it and just turn now so that you get to the right
simple.
size. Yeah,
and
it's
speaking
really,
of the
really
fabric
easy.
we're using for the paw print, would you use opposing color fabric? Anything that's
I mean,
just
that's
fluffy and fuzzy, like you said?
Totally. It's a bit of a design choice. You know what would actually be really cute is either an old sweater that you could cut and stitch the edges, or even if you just knit a tiny little pattern, like these little circles.
That's adorable.
Yeah, and so even if you use store-bought gloves, but you knitted the little paws, would be
how
so
cute.
cute.
Good idea.
So then the next thing that you do is once you've seen the size of your actual print, you want to do your circles and sort of figure out the size that feels right for how big the little like pads are.
Right.
Okay.
So once you draw one, I'm gonna pull this over here, that basically, you cut it out of your
done.
cardstock and that becomes a pattern. Now you do the same thing. You hold it, you cut it out, and you just keep using this one piece to cut out as many as you want, which you can see I've done here.
Okay, any tips for placing them on the glove before you actually put them in place?
This is what I would do.
Or
I would
walking down
actually put your hand, I was this side. I'd actually put your hand inside the glove and sort of play with it. Lay it on there, and you want to decide how high into your fingers you want the actual like little pad to go. And what I figured was with this shape, it actually worked better with only 3 as opposed to putting 1 on each finger. Like that right there looked like kind of the right style to me.
And it's almost right where your fingers bend, like on one of the...
It's exactly where, actually that's a perfect point, Debbie. It's exactly where your fingers bend turns out to be the right point. Because if you want to cut the fingers off to be fingerless gloves, that's where you would do it.
Okay.
So it gives you enough room. So now when you kind of get the sense of what the shape is, pull them off. Again, this doesn't have to be exact. It's more about you knowing sort of visually how far apart everything should be. So even if they pop off, that's no big deal.
But they stayed in place pretty well
Yeah,
like that if
they
you just
did.
pull them
Wow.
carefully.
Yeah, they're kind of grippy. So I'm going to ask you to glue, Gabby. And what I would recommend doing I know it's not as scary as it sounds. What I'd recommend doing is once you have them in place, don't pick up the piece and glue it. Just pull back. And now put the glue along the edge. So put the glue all along the back edge of the actual piece. That way you don't take the risk of putting it back down in the wrong spot.
And
that's perfect how much you're doing, yeah. You don't want to go too much because when you press down, it'll come out the sides. Oh, don't worry.
Okay.
So now look, now we would press that down. Now
Could
that
you
that's
sew
in
this?
place.
Could we sew it if we didn't want to glue it?
All right, so this is what I would say.
And you can knit, so you could,
You could totally
here, add some right along here. What I would say about the sewing is you can't use a sewing machine really because it's almost impossible to get the fingers into the sewing machine when you think about how wide that machine is. But hand stitching is an absolute option here.
And it would probably give it a really cool look. Yeah, like that one there, right
so
there.
take a look
That's
here.
so cute.
I glued these on, and then once it was glued on, I went in with a contrasting stitch. And same with this one down here. I went in with a contrasting stitch, and I just sort of stitched it. So it gives it a little bit more of like a official,
cool detail.
Final detail.
Yeah.
Now, for these guys, you can pick these up because you don't have as much space to play with.
Like
you kind of know.
so.
Yeah, like sort of where they're going.
There you go.
And then that's it. Now this would be the decision of whether you want to just glue them and call it a day, or whether you want to add the little stitching detail. You could use embroidery floss, which is this thicker stuff right here, or you could just use regular thread.
And these are completely washable.
Yeah, so this is the case. This is the situation, as it pretty much always is. It's gonna depend on the fabric that you chose and the gloves that you chose. If those items were machine washable to begin with, they are now. Fabric glue is totally machine washable. So they will be, but if your gloves were not machine washable, they are still not machine washable.
Well, Gabby, I would like to congratulate you on your very first DIY completed.
Oh, you finished a project.
You are officially a bad and bougie kitty.
Hey,